Today's guest is an expert on contemporary media and social media who's joining me all the way from Pakistan, Dr. Adil Ahmed Amir, who's a veteran journalist, broadcaster, producer, a documentary filmmaker who is now an educationalist after spending decades in media, in broadcasting. He's now an academic who teaches this subject of media to students, to the next generation of journalists. Let's welcome him to our studio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum assalam, and I really love your introduction. Thank you very much for inviting me on your show. And
It's
I must say, you have said a lot about me. Thank you so very much.
It's an honor and pleasure to be hosting you, and it's always interesting to welcome guests who bring with them a wealth of knowledge and expertise. And I know we've been talking a little bit off the camera, and I'm really fascinated with your story and the way it started. As in, you were right at the forefront, at the beginning of the launch of one of the biggest news channels in Pakistan, which is Geo. And how long ago was that?
That was around 22 years ago.
Wow, okay.
That's
So no doubt you've witnessed this huge sort of a rise of that particular news channel. It's a regular fixture in everyone's household, not only in Pakistan. I would tell you it's in the UK as well. They have a great influential platform in across UK and Europe.
Yeah, not only the rise, I must say, I have seen a transition from print media to electronic media, and then the great rise of digital media, not in only in the West, but in the Pakistan as well. So I have been through all these 2.5 decades working with the print journalism initially, then with the broadcast media. That was a new thing in Pakistan. The launch of satellite television channels in Musharraf era, the three big satellite TV channels, Geo News, ARY, and then Indus News at that time. And later on, after 2015, we have seen a transition from this contemporary media we usually call, or you people call, or some people call it, the mainstream media to the digital media. So it's a huge transformation as well in itself in media, and it's a great transition. And that was the time of media from 2002 to onward 2015, where we have covered massively Talibanization, we have covered massively insurgency inside Pakistan, foreign relationships, lawyers movement, elections, and a lot of stuff. You can name it.
So
So that
obviously,
was a wonderful.
the media plays a tremendous part in shaping not only people's opinions, but shaping, shall I say, political and social activism, and shaping the unfolding of events as well. And as you know, over the last 2 decades, especially since the late 90s, Pakistan has undergone a huge transformation in terms of the media changes that have happened. I mean, I remember as a kid going to Pakistan, and there was only one PTV, and I don't know whether that still exists and whether people still watch it.
That still exists, but there is a huge difference between the PTV and the way people consume content in Pakistan. After the inception of these new broadcast TV channels in 2002, people were less reliant on PTV, and they exactly saw the other side of the picture as well through these independent media networks. And later on in 2015, I will connect everything together. People got to know that obviously we are consuming news from someone's point of view. Probably it's the private ownership or media that is influenced by the powerful corridors. But now we have digital media. So now people of Pakistan have seen a tremendous kind of transformation from print media to electronic, and now to digital media. So coming back to your question, as far as private media was concerned, they actually given the voice and the other perspective to the people. But with the passage of time, contemporary media and the mainstream media that actually was influenced heavily by the powerful corridors as well, say the business tycoons or the property tycoons, or say it the establishment or the government. So later on, people realized that these free platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, these are really great platforms to share their opinion as well. So
So
that that
can I
that
ask,
was
why did you leave this mainstream media? Obviously, you had a successful career with Geo, and what tempted you to go into education? Because obviously, it's a two totally different fields.
they're interrelated because I'm teaching media and communication and I'm training future journalists as well. But there's a very interesting story. The story basically is when I was working in media, at that time there was a huge difference between the channels. There were like 15, 20 channels at that time, and the difference of revenue was very huge. Everyone was getting their due share. But with the passage of time, there were like 80, 90 channels, and the revenue market or the advertising market remained the same. So there were a lot of cuts in salaries. Working timings were really um, tiring for the journalists. There weren't any facilities for the journalists, and that led us to think that okay, fine, we have done a great journalism, we have done great service for past 2 decades. Now it's time to think for ourselves as well. So if you ask any media professional in Pakistan right now that how much money they are getting, they are merely meeting their expenditures. They are not getting enough. I mean, if you draw a comparison between a journalist, a seasoned journalist in the United Kingdom or in the US, with the Pakistani journalists, you will see they are getting like peanuts. So that means a lot of people, a lot of journalists like me who are, I mean, well versed, who have traveled abroad, who have got really good trainings and education, they think that we should actually think something about ourselves. So now TV channels are not paying good from past 6, 7 years in Pakistan. So that was the first reason. The second reason was due to these digital media technologies, the television model or the broadcasting model is completely changed in Pakistan. Now, TV channels are less and less reliant on the journalists and more reliant on on digital media. They are getting content from the digital media and they are actually rebroadcasting it on their YouTube channels. Similarly, they have so much content produced with them and they can use it for next 5 years. So now what they are thinking that why we should spend so much money on satellite
Journalists.
TV channels, why we should have the live DSNG vans, why we should have a lot of cameramans and the reporters when we can have the same thing on digital media with less people. So they are rapidly changing their models. Recently, there are two newspapers. They shut down their operations in Pakistan, and a lot of TV channels are going through this transitional period where they are thinking to shut down their operations on satellite and resume their operations only on digital media. So that was kind of futuristic decision for me to shift myself from practical journalism to academia, because academia is a stable kind of a field where you can actually work for a longer period of time. So another thing, you won't see any media professional in Pakistan going beyond like 50. They are working in their field. Mostly they want young interns, young people that they can actually pay them less. So these were some of the reasons. The most important reason that you cannot practice your conscience as well. I mean, if you want to do something for public affairs, if you want to talk on foreign policy with independence, you cannot talk. I mean, you have to go through rigorous policy checks and editorial checks, and you cannot freely discuss it.
I mean, you mentioned about the print media. I mean, that's obviously very expected that print journalism is out of date and no longer relevant, because by the time that print media comes out into the market for people to read, it's already outdated because people have already seen the news or consumed it by alternative means. I remember when I was a kid growing up in the UK, and I obviously naively as a child, you look at news and you think these people are just there to serve the public interest, to give you the news as it is. But it's only as you grow older and you become more engaged in these things, you realize that they've got advertisers, they've got sponsors, they have business interests, they have their own personal, not personal, but corporate biases and prejudice as well. So that's why you're looking at it through somebody else's lens. But going to this current sort of model of digital media, social media, I mean, that's really thrown things out onto a different scale. Obviously, look at the crisis in Palestine. I'm going to be careful how I frame this. It's not a conflict, because conflict makes it look like there's two equal parties. This is the humanitarian crisis, genocide happening in Palestine. It's been happening for decades, but we've not been able to see the way we are seeing it now because of social media. So how has the reporting of news with wars and such crises has changed the game now through social media?
See, this all started with the Arab Spring, you know. So it started from Tunisia, and really, Arab Spring is a debatable issue. Again, I will not go into the detail, but still, if we come to this current scenario, and see, journalism has played a very important role. Now, with the inception of these technologies like mobile phones and fast internet at the moment, and WhatsApp, and these broadcast channels like YouTube and Facebook, citizen journalists are more empowered, I believe, and they are empowered in Palestine as well. Nowadays, see, we are seeing a lot of videos coming out of Palestine, and how they are coming out. I mean, obviously, there are citizen journalism going on, and citizen journalism is doing really great in Palestinian region. They do not have mainstream media. Only one mainstream media house or media corporate media house that is covering Palestine extensively. That is Al Jazeera, and they are getting footages from the citizen journalists. So these digital technologies empowered common people in Palestinian region or the occupied regions as well, so that they are voicing about their rights and they are showing what is happening over there. So this is a great thing. I mean, but still, Arab media needs to be employing these citizen journalists and invest in the quality journalism as well, because I don't see that in Arab world they have invested heavily in the quality journalism to expand the global reach. They are not building international networks as well, or the partnerships with the global platforms. Then digital media is being used by common people. And another thing which is very much important for the Arab world, that is the media literacy kind of stuff, which is very common in Western countries. Um, they are lacking media literacy as well. But still, news is coming out, which is a good thing, what I believe.
But you know what you've just said yourself there, that about citizen journalists. So does that mean, as you said, many mainstream medias are closing operations down because they don't want to employ journalists? They don't want to have satellite vans going around the country, because right on the ground they have people who have a smartphone. They automatically become journalists. But is there an aspect of the social media being controlled or censored as well, with the way mainstream media has been manipulated for decades?
Obviously, when something runs on algorithms, obviously, they say that when you get something for free, that is actually not free. You are the commodity being sold. All right. So that means if something runs on the algorithms and social media's algorithms, obviously these algorithms probably being controlled somewhere, some people sitting in Palo Alto or in California somewhere. So definitely, but still, apart from saying that it is controlled, um, it's a good thing that there is some kind of probably censorship. Voices are not coming that much, but it's good for having nothing. At least something is coming out of that region. Because if you see 20 years back, there was less and less information that was coming out of that region.
Yeah.
But now at least there is something coming out of that region, which is a good thing. But still, all these technologies can be manipulated easily. It is very well known fact that these digital technologies or digital platforms run on algorithms. Obviously, someone is sitting somewhere, is watching the content, and it is being filtered. Take the example of Pakistan. Recently, there is a lot of noise about the firewall that is being installed in Pakistan,
Yeah, what
and
was that about?
obviously uh, so that's a recent experiment that has been done in Pakistan, and no one is accepting, not the PTA and uh, none of the government officials. They are not accepting that we are installing a firewall. But there's a lot of independent journalists who are talking about the firewall because we are not receiving good internet. When I was preparing for this podcast, and I was really worried about the podcast, whether I'll get the internet at that time or not, because sometimes you get the internet and suddenly it goes away. You send the messages, your messages are delivered very late. Secondly, you cannot open Twitter here in Pakistan. You need to use some proxy, something like that, in order to access Twitter. Similarly, you cannot sometimes upload pictures. So this kind of model, that is a Chinese model that has been being adopted in Pakistan. It is said by the senior journalists, but at the government level, no one is actually taking
Admitting.
responsibility on.
I mean, I have obviously seen footage from other mediums that this whole thing is being designed to crush the opposition, to control the protests, anti-government protests. But the question is the government succeeding, or are these voices getting louder and louder, the voices of opposition?
The voices of opposition are getting louder, but people are not hearing it. When you control the medium, obviously the social media, they are not getting, I mean, they have the complete control on these mainstream channels. You are not seeing protests on mainstream channels. Obviously, if you have to access the Twitter, if you are uploading something, opposition is uploading something on Twitter, uh, everyone is not, I mean, digitally literate that much to use proxies, all right, to or use tor networks or use any other medium to access these platforms. uh, Obviously, people who are media literate, who are digital media literate in urban masses, they actually try to use these technologies. But people in rural areas, uh, and the majority of the people live in the rural areas, those who are accessing these technologies free of cost in previous years, they are unable to access it. That means voices are there loud and clear, but these voices are not reaching to the masses. All right. I mean, a journalist like me, if I want to know about some protest and what is happening in Islamabad, definitely I'll access Twitter somehow, or I'll talk to the journalist somehow. But people who are living in rural areas, or those who are using Twitter and Facebook for political activism or for information gratification, um, they are unable to use it because they are not media literate. Yes, you are right. Voices are getting louder and louder, but they are not reaching to the people. That is
But
happening, and they
but
are
it seemed that the
government.
social media
Government is
was the
responsible for this.
tool for the opposition, the voices that are being suppressed at the moment. So, just to try and get a grasp of this evolution of the media. First, as I said, you had PTV, then these new alternative mainstream channels came, which gave people an alternative sort of version of events. And then even despite the controls and manipulation of that, digital media, social media opened up this or even more in terms of exposure, giving a whole different version of events. Where do you see the next part of the evolution?
Well, the AI is the next part of the evolution, and television channels are integrating AI extensively. Not television channels in on digital technologies; they are actually going through this evolutionary process of integrating AI into it. The next thing what I see is the disinformation and the misinformation taking place at the cost of our news consumption. Because now, due to the AI, you can manipulate pictures easily. Deep fake is a new phenomenon. I mean, we have seen the deep fake for from the Ukrainian president. We have seen the deep fake of American president as well. Even we have seen the deepfake of Imran Khan here in Pakistan. So deepfake and the era of disinformation is starting. So if I say in 2002, that was from 2002 to 2006 probably or 8, that was the era of information rich era for the public. From 2008 to 2012, that was the narrative control era, where government or the establishment or the powerful corridor, they were trying to control the contemporary or the mainstream media. 2015 to 2020 or 2021, that was the era of the digital media era that has taken over the contemporary media or the mainstream media, and it empowered people more to voice about the issues. But now 23 onward, I'm seeing the era of disinformation. There are a lot of disinformation, and people are unable to recognize which is the legit information and which is not. So that is a difficult era. And in this era, media literacy is very much important, because you need to understand that these pictures come from some kind of manipulation, or this video is a deep fake video. So I conduct a lot of trainings of the journalists. Even journalists fall prey to such kind of videos and such kind of pictures sometimes, and it happened a lot of times in Pakistan when they fell prey to such kind of content. So this is the era of, I would say, disinformation,
I mean, is there
and
any
we have
positive aspects of this deepfake technology?
well. That's a difficult question. I mean, any positive, I mean, deep and the fake. I mean, you can actually uh, judge it from its name. It's deep and the fake. So how you can get something out of something positive out of fake? I mean, mostly it is used for the
Negative
manipulation,
purposes, yeah.
information manipulation, for the propaganda purposes. All right, to build narratives or to kill some kind of narrative or to mold the narrative. So mostly deep fakes are used for that.
But this is not a problem unique just to Pakistan. This is going to be a worldwide phenomenon where this technology will be used for negative and darker purposes. But what about overall artificial intelligence, the tools which are now so rapidly unfolding for the average person to use? Well, what are your thoughts on that in terms of its impact on society, or even more specifically to, journalism?
I say, yeah, with reference to journalism and education, these tools, what I believe, empowered instructors as well. They empowered journalists as well. Um, Now you can complete your task with a less span of time, probably which was not possible in the past. And there are a lot of, I mean, these Chat GPT and Gemini and Copilot kind of stuff, and these AI-driven technologies to edit your videos. They are really helping journalists, what I believe. But again, I would say a lot of journalists, they are in Pakistan, especially. I would especially talk about with reference to the Pakistan. They are not aware of these technologies. For that, they need proper training. They need education as well. These are very good technologies, and until unless you understand them, remaining ethical in research as well and in journalism, you can use these technologies. But there is a very thin line when you become unethical by using these technologies, because if you take some picture or you use some text and alter it by using these digital technologies, I mean, if you have written something by yourself and you have actually uploaded it, definitely it's ethical. But if you have taken help of the AI, we talk to our students about this as well, and you have asked AI to write it for themselves, then it's quite unethical. So there is a question of ethics as well
But
in these
look,
technologies when you
with
use
the
them.
ease and availability of these tools, I must ask you this question, Dr. Adil, as being a journalist yourself, or even a former journalist, but you still have a great exposure in that field. Is that what will be the role of journalists in the future when anybody can create footage, anybody can take footage from their mobile phones and write such compelling articles using AI? So what is the role of the journalist, or anybody can become a journalist with these, using these tools without having to go to study and qualify?
No, that's not true. I mean, there is a vivid difference between something is produced by a journalist, produced by a person who is not a trained journalist, and a person who is a trained journalist. I'm not saying the journalist, a trained journalist. Obviously, something that has been produced by the machines or the people using prompts and producing something, there will be a clear difference between that content and the content that is based, or that content that stands on the shoulder of method of verification by a journalist and method of proper sourcing. So AI cannot source information. They are based on large language models, LLM, obviously. So a journalist, if I want to confirm something is happening in Islamabad at this point of time, definitely I am going to contact my sources. But AI will rely only on the information or the language model that is working with that AI technology, that the information that has been fed to that model. All right. So probably I'll be more accurate, I'll be more ethical compared to something that has been written. Probably that will use very flowery language, or it will use a very good English kind of a stuff, but my reportage will stand on the shoulder of sourcing, verification, and authentic information. So authenticity will matter more compared to using these digital technologies. That's what I believe as a
Okay.
journalist,
Okay, so that's
because
good news
proper
then.
sourcing is important. Proper sourcing is important. I
Yeah.
mean, you are getting some information from AI, and probably that information is outdated. All right, probably it is written in a very conducive way, or very um, what I would say it in a proper English, but that information is outdated, and probably you do not know the socio cultural context. You are not providing the socio cultural context through that information. But a human or a journalist, that has something else as well. It goes beyond the processing information. So these technologies are actually processing information or the processing text, but journalists are not processing text. They go beyond that. So that is a clear difference.
That's good to
you
know and
can you can
reassuring.
write an article in a very good flashy words kind of a stuff through AI, but you cannot I mean do the kind of stuff that journalists actually do.
That's reassuring, as if we keep hearing that AI is going to be replacing so many jobs. So at least we know now broadcasters and journalists are safe then. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so one
Yeah.
other thing, being an educationist, you're in academia now. What would you advise any youngster graduate coming to you now for career advice? What would you advise them as to, in staying in Pakistan or the Asian subcontinent, what is the career that they should be looking to try and get into?
Well, as far as in Pakistan, things are really not good at this point of time, I must say. But still, people who train themselves in a way, get proper education, and invest their energies in their profession, let's say journalism. they have a lot of scope, I would rather say. I'm a journalist. I worked in print media as well. I worked in radio as well. And with the passage of time, I actually changed myself. I was a journalist in print medium, then I shifted to the radio, then I shifted to the television with the transition, then I shifted to the digital media or the media education, training and development, and consultation, digital media consultation. So I am doing a lot of stuff. So over the past 20, 25 years, I have seen a lot of transition in myself. So the time is changing rapidly, technologies are changing rapidly. You cannot lag behind. You have to keep up the pace. You have to learn these new trends, new technologies as well. If you are not updating yourself, you will remain behind. There were people who used to write stories with their hands. When computer came in Pakistan in news channels, they said we cannot use computer. They were left behind. When the broadcast media came, print medium journalists said, okay, we cannot stand in front of the camera and we cannot give the PTC. They left behind. And the journalists in the broadcast journalism, they said, okay, we are unable to use these digital technologies. We cannot keep up pace with the Facebook, updating our stories on the Facebook, making videos with the Facebook. They are, I mean, nowhere. I mean, now is the time. If you are a journalist, you need to be a mojo journalist. I mean, mobile journalism is the future. I mean, you are editor as well. I edit my stories. I can edit very well. I can use these digital technologies at my own. I can use camera. I can talk front of the camera. I actually write my scripts as well. So you need to make yourself a package in
MashaAllah.
journalism, in media as well, remaining in the media. So if you are a package, so that means an employer is going to hire 10 people in you. So that's the thing. So nowadays people are actually learning one skill and they think that they get job. No, you are not going to get job. If you are very good with all these things, definitely there are brighter prospects for you.
I just
So
share with
training,
everyone, AI is something you really need to get into no matter what field you're in. Learn about
yes.
this new technology. What do you think?
Yes, obviously, because I'm in education now,
Hmm.
and we are extensively working on AI. I recently done a 6 months course from Auburn University on AI, how to develop prompts, how to use different platforms in the education. Because when Chat GPT in 2023 came, a lot of educationists, a lot of universities thought, now we are finished. I mean, this is our biggest enemy, but this is not our biggest enemy. We can actually tame it. We can
That's
actually
right.
use it effectively in our education, in our daily life. So the thing is, we need to learn it. We need to learn about it, how to use it, how to tailor our programs, how to tailor our academia. So learning AI is the must thing in current era, because AI is going to replace jobs, but if you learn the AI, you can tame the AI. So that is very much important.
I think there's one thing learning about AI tools created by others, but where the real secret is countries like Pakistan should really be at the forefront of creating their own AI tools. But that's a discussion for another day, inshallah. It's been a
Yeah.
great honor and pleasure to be having this discussion with yourselves, and thank you so much for those insights. And no doubt, we'll be inviting you again to hear some more of your great wisdom and knowledge on the great areas of expertise that you have.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much
Dr.
for
Adil,
inviting
thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
me.